So we had started with models, right? We'll continue with the same. Okay, so let us recapitulate a bit. So this is the word cloud, which displays the models. Just for a second, browse at this, look at this cloud, so that all these models or the auxiliary verbs, they could be refreshed in your mind, right? Might, can, could, will, would, should, may, etc., etc. Right? Then we had discussed a few notices. These notices, which we find at various places. It was a small warm-up activity, and the purpose was to recover the instructions or the expressions behind these notices. So ultimately, what we found when we were discussing that these very posters or these very notices, they are some instructions or suggestions expressed. And then we had also expressed the meaning of these very notices in the sentences where we had been using the modal verbs. That is, can, may, must, might, would, should, etc. So what we conclude that when we make sentences, sometimes in order to add to the main verb, we also use a special type of auxiliary verb that is called modal. And these are the verbs which add a special meaning to the main verbs. For example, if I say, you close the window, it sounds like a command. Close the window. Close the window is an imperative sentence. You close the window is a command. But when I say, you should close the window, you see that the meaning is different. Why? When I say, you should close the window, meaning I am reminding you of your duty. Perhaps I am reminding you of your responsibility. Perhaps I expect you to oblige me by closing the door. Right? So when we use these modals, these auxiliary verbs, then the meaning of the main verb, the main verb here was closing the door, close the door, close, right? So the meaning becomes specific, meaning is changed, right? Or meaning is more clearly defined. I hope it is clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now we will discuss the rules with the help of examples also. First of all, you see here is the list of in blue. Here it is the list of these modal verbs. Will, shall, can, may, must, might, would, should, ought to, need to. These are the modal verbs. Do, does, has, have, they are also verbs, but they are not modal verbs. Do remember, they are helping verbs, right? They are helping verbs. These modal verbs, they are always used with the main verb that we'll discuss later, right? All these verbs, all these modals, they have their own function as they express different things that one by one, each and every modal we will take on. Now here in the table just before the first one, you will find another set of modals. The same modals which have been mentioned here in the first table also. The reason, these are the past form of these modals. Would is the past form of will, but it is not only used as a past form. It has some other function also, which you will get to know. Similarly, shall, in the past form, it is changed into should or would, but it has an additional function as well, right? Can is changed into could. Again, along with the past form, it has an additional meaning also. May is changed into might as the past form, but it refers to the possibility. Must is changed into had to. Must expresses urgency, compulsion, necessity, and had to also expresses the same, right? Now these models, what is their function? What do these express? All these which are given in the first or in the second table, they all express capability or ability. I can jump. This is capability. Possibility. It may rain. It's cloudy. It may rain. Obligation. You should close the door. Permission. You can sit here. It is informal permission. You may sit here. It is formal permission. Now you see that what it is, if you are going to the librarian, you will ask the librarian, ma'am, may I sit here? She would say, you may sit here. Now what is this, formal permission or informal permission?
Ma'am, formal.
Formal permission, right? And similarly, if your parents are talking about something in their room and you go, how would you ask them that if you can sit there or not?
May I sit here?
No. Will you be formal with your parents?
No, ma'am.
No. So what would you say? Can I sit here? Right? Then you would
Yes.
say, can I sit here? Why? Because it is informal permission. You see, with the teacher, we have formal relation, so formal permission. With the parents, informal relation, so informal permission. Parents would say, yes, you can. No, you cannot. Right? But it is informal. Request. Will you please? Would you close the door for me? Can you close the door for me? Now, can you is ability, can you is permission. At the same time, it is used for request also. Can you close the door for me? Now, if I say, can I help you? What does it express?
Ma'am, concern, request.
Yes, it's not request, it expresses offer. I'm offering my help. Can I help you? May I help you? It is an offer, right? Can you close the door for me? This is a request, right? Can I sit? This is informal permission. You can sit, informal permission. Now you see that what interesting thing about these modal is, Anmol, that one modal expresses so many things in different sentences. Not in one sentence. In different situations, it expresses something different, right? Now, necessity. The modals express necessity. How? You must work hard. Meaning it's necessary for you to work hard. You need to spend 10 hours on your studies. This is the necessity because exams are approaching, right? Suggestion. You should take medicine on time. This also expresses advice. You ought to take your medicine regularly. You ought to do yoga for exercise. So this is expressing suggestion or advice, right? A lot many things have been covered here, yet in different contexts, when different examples we discuss, then you will come to know more about it, right? We have some exercises also, yes.
And what is the meaning of ought to?
Ought to is an expression of actually should, right? It is an expression of should. You should, you must. It expresses both. It's used very seldom, right? It's not outdated. I would not say it's not used at all, but it's used very seldom. This we take up only because in case in the exams, if you get it, then you should know what it expresses and how it has to be used, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now about the modals, I told you in the previous slide a few modals which are changed in the past form, right? But these very modals, they are not only used as past form, they are used as modals actually also. And then their form does not change. Could you help me in solving riddles? Could you help me in solving riddles? It's a polite request. So when we make a polite request, we don't say, can you help? No, we say, could you help? Right? Now, could cannot be changed into can here. Could will remain could only. Right? Similarly, would. Would you close the window for me? Right? I would visit my uncle when I go to Kolkata. Fine. Now this would will not be changed into will. It will remain would only. Similarly, should will not be changed into shall. It would be used as should. Shall is changed into should, but should is not changed into shall. You know that when this is happening actually, Anmol, when we take up reported speech, I will tell you. In reported speech, when we are changing direct speech into indirect speech, then these modals like will, shall, may, etc., they are changed into the past form. Could, would, should, might, etc. Otherwise, they do not change. Right? Now, may is changed into might, but might will not be changed into may. Ought to remains ought to. It doesn't change. Used to remains used to. It doesn't change. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let's go to the next. Now, here is something very important to remember about modals. Modal verbs always come first in a verb phrase. I can travel alone. See the example. If I just delete can, right? The sentence is I travel alone. So what is the main verb here?
Alone.
No. Main verb. Child alone is not the verb.
Travel.
Travel, right? Verb is a doing word. So travel is the main verb, right? Now, when you are using modal, it would come before the verb, main verb. I can travel. You can't write, I travel can alone. No. I will travel alone. I can travel alone. I must not travel alone. You see, we are always using modal first and then the main verb. Can you close the window for me? Can close. You see, again, can is being used before close, right? You should stop talking. Should stop. Stop is the main verb, but modal is used before the main verb. Is that clear, this rule?
Yes, ma'am.
Now the next, modal verbs are followed by bare infinitives. Bare infinitives or non-finite, bare infinitives meaning the verb is used without to. For example, you should stop mimicking others. This is the modal which is followed by bare infinitive. Now, to stop mimicking others, no. You should stop mimicking others. After modal, a bare infinitive is used. A bare infinitive meaning verb without to before it. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Come to the next. You can't add s, ed or ing to modals. To the main verbs we can add. For example, it cannot be stopped mimicking. It cannot is the modal, but stop, I have changed the form of the verb stop into stopped, adding ed to this. but it cannot be done with the modal verbs. Cannot be changed into can't, cans, canned, or canning, right? Similarly, will, shall, may, might, all these modals, they cannot be done. You must maintain social distancing. That's right. Social distancing must be maintained. Maintain the main verb that is changed by adding ed. But you see that the modal remains the same. So it cannot be added s, ed, or ing at the end of the modals. They remain the same, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Modals form their negatives and interrogatives like other auxiliaries. Like other helping verbs, modals also form their negatives. It is not so that modals cannot be used in the negative form. They can also be used in the negative form and in the interrogative form as well. For example, here is one example. She can't climb. She won't write a letter. So this is the negative form of the modals, right? Interrogative form is, can I help you? So just as we use other helping verbs, have you finished your work? Have is the helping verb. So just like those interrogatives where the question begins with a helping verb. Similarly, if you are using modals in a question, then the question will begin with the modal. Can I help you? May I go out? May I sit with you? Will it rain? Would you come to my place? Shall we go to see the cinema? Right? So this is how we can have the interrogatives also with modals. I hope all these rules are clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubt here?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now let's go to the next. Now here it is function of modals, auxiliary verbs. You please pay attention, and if any doubt anywhere, you must ask me, right? Now one by one, each and every modal we will take up. See the table here. The first column is the modal, second is the function or what it expresses, and the third is the example, right? Now will. Will is a modal as will. What does it express? It expresses future tense. Yes, I will go to school tomorrow. I will not go to school tomorrow. What is it referring? It is referring future tense. At the same time, it expresses certainty also. Complete certainty. I will help you. This expresses what? Certainty. Definitely I will help you. Wish. I will give you my book. I will share my notes with you. This expresses wish, right? Now here you look at the sentences and try to identify what each sentence expresses of these three. All right, Anmol? So you will be participating now. I will meet you tomorrow. What does it express?
Certainty.
Certainty. Good. You know why certainty? One thing is will is full certainty. There are a few modals, they have their degree of certainty. Will is the most certain and might is the least certain. May is little more certainty than might. Similarly, can and could also have. I will meet you tomorrow. Here, tomorrow. When we read, then we find it is certain. Right? Okay. I have invited him, but he will not come.
And future only.
Future. Okay. Any other?
Certainty.
Certainty. Exactly. That also expresses certainty. I will give you a gift on your success in exams.
Certainty and wish.
Wish,
Wish.
right? It more expresses wish. I will give you a gift. When I say I will give you a gift, I will give you a gift, meaning I wish to give you a gift on your success in exams. So if you have to express your wish, you can express it this way, right? In fact, I tell you, Anmol, in our day-to-day conversation, we use these models unknowingly, unconsciously, we use all these models in our day-to-day conversation. Now, after learning about it, when you say something, then you will realize, oh, I'm using, right? Is that clear, Will?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now let's come to shall. Shall is a modal. Shall expresses polite request. Shall expresses offer. Shall I call a cab? What does it express?
Polite request.
Yes, exactly. Shall I call a cab? Polite request. Right? Shall I take your pen? Again, polite request. I shall share my notes with you.
Offer.
Offer. I shall share my notes with you. You shall share my you shall see my notes to prepare for exams. This is also offer. Is that clear? Shall is not much in usage these days, right? Sometimes in a polite conversation, we use, in fact, we people, I mean the people of my age, right, who had studied in the past, because we people had done a lot of grammar, and then we people were using. But the modern generation I have seen, and in the modern trend of grammar, shall is not much used. Shall has been replaced by will. Will was already there, but now the people use will frequently and shall is used very seldom, right? Okay, now let's come to the next, would. Would is used the past form as the past form of will, right? It also expresses possibility. They would help me in cooking. What does it express?
Past form.
Right, past form of will. Would you open the window for me?
Request.
Yes, it is request. I have not mentioned here, but you are right. It is used for request also. I would play hide and seek when I would play hide and seek when I was a child.
Past form.
Yes, it is the past form, right? Okay. When we say they would help me in cooking, this also expresses possibility, right? For example, if I say, how would you do all your work? You would say, my friends would come and help me. So there is the possibility of them to come and help you, right? Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Now let's come to should. Should is the past form of shall. Should is also used for advice. Should is also used for obligation, right? Obligation, or as a sense of, it expresses a sense of responsibility, fine? You should do yoga. What does it express?
Advise.
Advice, right? You should keep your surroundings clean.
Obligation.
Obligation, correct. Obligation. When I say, should I call a cab?
Can you repeat?
Should I call a cab?
Advise.
Yes, it does express advice. It is also the past form of shall. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubt here on this page?
No, ma'am.
Shall we go to the next?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now see the next. Here it is can. Now can expresses informal permission, as we discussed. Can expresses ability. Can expresses informal permission. Can I sit here? You can sit here. You cannot sit here. It expresses ability. I can climb up the hill. I cannot climb up the hill. It expresses a request. Can you lend me your pen? Right? It expresses offer. Can I help you? It expresses suggestion. You can read my book. It expresses possibility. It can cause some adversity. Right? So many things are expressed by the use of can. So when we get a sentence where we have to use can, we have to analyze that sentence very carefully in order to see what it expresses. Right? Now here are the sentences, please see. You can play in my lawn.
Offer.
You can play in my lawn. Okay, right. It is an offer. Anything else?
Suggestion.
Not suggestion.
Informal permission also.
Right, informal permission. Okay. You can play in my lawn. Informal permission. Also, it is an offer. He can solve the riddles fast.
Ability.
Ability. It is ability. Can I have a cup of coffee?
Informal permission and request.
Request. It's not permission. Can I have a cup of coffee? Meaning, please get me a cup of coffee. Right? Instead of saying, please get me a cup of coffee, you will say, can I have a cup of coffee? So it's a request. Right? Please lend me your book. Can you lend me your book? So this is a request. Right? Can I help you?
Offer.
Offer. Can I help you? Offer. Right? Okay, let's go to the next. Could. Could is the past form of can. Like can, could also expresses possibility, polite request, offer, and suggestion. Here are the examples, and you will work out. Could you help me make notes?
Request.
Right, very good. Polite request. Often we make a phone call to talk to somebody who is not there online, and we say, could you get me talk to someone? Could you get me talk to Mr. Patel? Right? So what is it? It is a polite request. Usually when telephonic conversation we make and polite statements we give, we use could. It could be dangerous to swim alone in deep waters.
Suggestion.
No.
Possibility.
Right, possibility. It could be dangerous to swim alone in deep waters. Suggestion is you could have written complete answer. You are cribbing that you haven't got full marks. Right? Your mother gives you suggestion. You could have written complete answer. You could write neatly. Perhaps you would have got full marks. Is that clear? So that's how suggestion is made. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's go to the next. That is may. May is formal permission. May I sit here? May I get a book issued to the librarian, you say? You want a teacher's book? You will say, ma'am, may I take your book? To your teacher, you would not say, can I take your book? You are not a friend. Okay, to the teacher, you would say, may I take your book, ma'am? So this is formal permission. Teacher would say, yes, you may. No, you may not. When we go to some museums or we go to some tourist place and we have to take a video videography we have to do, or we have to take a photo shot, we take permission. May we take some pictures here? And the man on duty would say, no, you may not. Or yes, you may, but hurry up. Right? So this is formal permission. Okay? And possibility. May is also possibility. It's quite cloudy today, so it may rain. Now, what makes it possibility? What leads to the possibility? That is appearance of or formation of clouds, on the basis of which you say it may rain. Heavy clouds, it will rain. Now you see that possibility changes. It is cloudy, it may rain. Lesser the possibility. But when we say, oh, heavy clouds there in the sky, it will rain, meaning certainty, complete certainty it will rain. Fine? Okay. Now see these sentences. May I sit on this chair?
Formal permission.
Right. You may sit here. Again, formal permission. It may rain today.
Possibility.
Right. We just discussed. Okay. Yes. Might. Might is the past form of may. Might is the least possibility. Right? It might take some time to finish the project. This is least possibility. It might take some time. You're not certain at all. You're just making a guess. You're just giving a possibility. Yeah, it might take some time to finish the project. When you are not certain, then you give this possibility, which is the least possibility. All right? Similarly, I say, the weather is not clear. Do you think it will rain? You would say it might rain. You won't say it will rain, because it will rain, meaning you are sure. You would say it might rain, meaning there is the least possibility as the weather is not clear. Right?
Okay, ma'am.
Yes. Come to the next. Must. Must expresses responsibility, assumption, necessity. Necessity, when we say, it means sort of compulsion, you can say. And advice. Advice is, for example, we say, you must work hard. Your exams are ahead. So it's an advice. Necessity, you must come to school with your iCard. It is a necessity. Right? Response. Yes?
And what is the meaning of assumption?
Yes. Assumption is, it is expected, it is assumed that you have to do this. It is sort of necessity only. Right?
Okay.
And then responsibility. You must always stand when the national anthem is on. This is our responsibility. Right? Okay. See the sentences. You must study today.
Advice, necessity.
Advice, right? Be confident, Anmol. Even if it is wrong, no matters. I am there to correct it. Right? But be confident. The girl in pink must be her sister.
Assumption.
Assumption, yes. Assumption with certainty, with necessity. The girl in pink must be her sister. You're sure she is her sister. Fine?
Yes, ma'am.
We must stand, we must come in a line to the assembly ground. What does it reflect?
Responsibility.
Responsibility. This is our responsibility to see. This is my responsibility, my duty. I have to come to school with an iCard. So we must go to school with our iCard. You must wear the mask. This is responsibility. This is necessity as well. And this is also an advice. Going out, you must wear the mask. You must maintain social distancing. You must sanitize your hands. You see, It expresses responsibility, it expresses necessity, and it expresses advice as well. Right? Okay. Any problem here?
No, ma'am.
All right. Now the next. Ought to. Ought to is formal recommendation. Recommendation in the form of advice, you can say, and obligation. Obligation is when you should have a sense of responsibility, but somehow it is not compulsory. You cannot be forced for that. But good it is if you do so. Right? So here is an example. For example, we ought to stand while our national anthem is being played. So this gives a sense of responsibility. Right? At the
Yes,
same time, it is formally recommended. It is formally recommended. It's national anthem. We must stand. Ought to, Anmol expresses must also at time, right? You ought to work hard. You ought to be fast in writing. Otherwise, you will not be able to complete your answers. Clear? Yes. The next is need to. Need to expresses necessity. Need to expresses compulsion as well. Right? So here it is. We need to help those who have lost their parents during pandemic. We need to, it is necessary for us to help those.
necessity.
Necessity, yes. You need to come to school with your full bag.
Necessity.
Right. It expresses necessity. Okay. Have to. Have to is authority. Authority meaning you are required. You are expected. You are expected. You are required. You cannot ignore it. You have to come to school in uniform. You cannot have your own will. You have to come to school in uniform because authority demands it. The school authority, the school discipline demands it. So you have to. There is no scope for I will or I shall or I can or I might. No, I have to. Right? You have to take the medicine to recover from corona. It's compulsion. You cannot ignore it. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
You have to wear the mask before boarding the metro train or any public transport. This is the rule. The rule book says this is a rule by the government, by various organizations. This is the need of the hour. So you have to. The students, in simpler words, have to meaning compulsory, essential. Okay? Yes, the students have to come to school in their uniform, we just discussed. The passengers have to put on mask while using public transport. You have to throw the garbage into the dustbin. You go to Kerala, they don't give you an option. They won't give you an option that you can. No, you have to throw the garbage into the dustbin. Otherwise, you would be penalized. Fine. So this is authority. Yes. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Any problem here?
No, ma'am.
Here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's go to the next thing. Now here we are doing practice, right? One small exercise. First of all, there are multiple answers. Before you give the answer, you choose the answer from the MCQs given there. You have to read the sentence carefully. Try to understand the situation. Don't be in a hurry. Okay? Try to understand the situation. Does it express possibility, request, or offer, or suggestion, or advice, or necessity, or what? And then accordingly, you would choose one. Okay? I think your thumb is broken. You dash go to the emergency room. See the options.
Ought to.
Good, very good. You ought to go to the emergency room. It's a suggestion, right? It's a recommendation. Very well recommended. Well, John has fallen down the stairs. I dash call an ambulance.
Ought to.
Ought to. Can you use any other?
Will.
Will, correct. Now you see what it is? The same situation, and you can use either of the two modals. I will, certainly, he has fallen down the stairs. I will call an ambulance. It is certain, right? And I ought to, it is recommended to call an ambulance, right? Okay. Children dash be accompanied by an adult at the zoo.
Ought to and must.
Must, not ought to here. Must. Why must? Because it is compulsory. It is compulsory that they are escorted by adults. They cannot go to the zoo alone. Right? So it is necessity. Children must be accompanied by an adult at the zoo. Right? Okay. You dash talk during tests. It is forbidden.
Must not.
You must not talk during tests. Okay. Any other?
You don't have to.
Right. But you mustn't talk is more appropriate. They dash hear him because he was whispering. They dash hear him because he was whispering.
They could not.
Right. They couldn't hear him because he was whispering. It's the past form. Why? Because the sentence is in the past tense. Because he was whispering. Right? And the situation suggests his inability to hear. Right? Okay. Dash you like to have dinner with me tonight?
Would.
Would. Very good. You dash let him hear about the party tomorrow. It's a surprise.
You can.
So read the sentence carefully.
You would not.
You mustn't let him hear about the party tomorrow. It's a surprise. Right? Because you are keeping it a secret.
Okay.
Dash I speak to the chief counselor, please?
May.
May. Because this is a formal permission. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now the next is again practice. There are some exercises for practice that we will take up tomorrow. Right? Is there any problem?
No, ma'am.
Sure?
Yes, ma'am.
So we will see tomorrow, right? You can leave now.